Knicks family, what's popping? It's your boy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, whichever one you want to call it. I'm on a late night tonight. As you can see, I'm not in the studio, so I've been missing in action, but I'm here tonight just so we can talk a little bit of Knicks news. Ladies and gentlemen, I got my man Tony Crow with me, and we're gonna go ahead and get it popping. Tony, what's going on with you, brother? How you feeling?
What's good, Sim? Uh, I felt like I haven't heard the intro in a minute. Shout out to Dio. It's only
It's been
been
a
three
minute, bro.
days. It's been 3 days, but it felt if Sim take 3 days off, it feel like a week. But we've been holding it down for you, MBK fam.
Yeah, no doubt.
Um,
I've been able to catch a little bit of the shows and whatnot, man. It feels like it's been more than just 3 days for me, to tell you the truth. It feels like it's been forever, but um, I'm seeing all kinds of stuff all over the news. People killing the Knicks in the media because of the whole Jalen Brunson thing. Of course, you heard about people saying that the Knicks and Utah, not just the Knicks and Utah and anybody could be at a stalemate. So I just want to get into it a little bit and talk about it. First thing I want to ask you, Tony, I'm gonna get to the whole Jalen Brunson thing in a little bit. Do you think it's really a stalemate right now for Donovan Mitchell, or is it posturing by the Utah Jazz? Or do you think the Knicks and it, because really, who else is there to compete with the Knicks for Donovan Mitchell? Right? Who else is out there to do that? I don't think there's many uh teams out there fighting for Donovan Mitchell. So the way that I look at it, not that they wouldn't fight for Donovan Mitchell. I don't think they have the assets to get Donovan Mitchell. So the way that I look at it, it's New York and it's Utah. Is it posturing? What is it?
well, to be honest, I think Ainge is being smart.
Hmm.
I hate to give him credit. At this moment, I think you're right, and the market is not. There's not a bidding war at this particular moment,
Right,
but I think it's because the dominoes, Kevin Durant, hasn't fallen yet. You know what I
right,
mean? I think
right,
that has to be the domino that falls for some people who are maybe interested or trying to find ways to get into that sweepstake. Once that is done and over it, whether he's staying, whether he's moved, but once that's done, then I think the, the market opens a lot more because now they know that piece is off the table. So I think, in a sense, there's a little bit of pressure for the Knicks to move now,
mm-hmm. Get this thing done, get it out the way, right?
but you got to be smart regardless. They have time to posture themselves at this particular moment, but there's a fine window because that domino falls. Once it falls, that's it. You can't pick it back up, and then all the other ones start falling as well, which may make the competition occur.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? And it's difficult. You know what I mean? It's difficult, and I applaud Leon Rose and the front office for not just saying, you know what, we got it, we can get them. Let's just go ahead and knock it out. For being smart and wanting to make sure that they can protect the basketball team, so that they can put a competitive team on the floor, and just setting that precedent that with this regime here, we're going to be smart. We're not just going to fall for anything. So I applaud them for that. I hope that they get the deal done. What I'm saying? I want them to get the deal done, because I do think as long as the Knicks aren't gutting everything, if you add Donovan Mitchell, I think it steps the Knicks up to another level, right? And then from there, they can go up another level after that. My question to you, though, and to everybody else, please feel free to comment. Obviously, I don't have the phone lines here, nothing like that. But comment, and those comments that I find interesting, I'll throw them up there on the screen. But is it Donovan Mitchell or bust now? Now that you know that it's really the Knicks and Utah negotiating, is it Donovan Mitchell or bust for you?
For me personally, it is not Donovan Mitchell or bust. If the deal is done and the deal is done right, and who am I to say what's right and what's wrong? You know what I mean? No matter what, I'm going to support the team. But there are there's obviously a point where Leon Rose doesn't want to surpass because the deal hasn't been done yet, right? So, like you said, gotta commend them for having a stance and standing on it. And for me as a Knicks fan, I'm gonna live with those consequences. That being said, I think even as time goes on, we don't lose we don't lose our position or the possibility of getting him, because I still think we have the most assets, the best long term package, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's true and the deal started with we want 8 picks and those 4 young guys, right? And then whatever else it has to make the salary work. Obviously, that's too much. Not doing that. The latest report was all right, 7 picks, right? They dropped one. Um, so even if they move forward, I don't think the deal moves back to 8 and the 4 players. I think 7 is probably at this particular moment his Danny Ainge's point of I'm not budging from here. So I think there are moves out there that I feel like that are too much, and I would
Mm-hmm.
prefer them not do those moves. Be smart, negotiate, and figure it out. So I'm not mad if they turn down what they consider something as a bad long term move or investment, and I'm a rock with it. Hopefully, we get all the details whether it goes down or doesn't, so we can kind of have a fair way to assess was it a good move or a good non-move.
Yeah. Ah, man, they're going to keep us hanging throughout the summer. I can already feel it, right? The Knicks fans are going to be hanging throughout the summer. Everyone's going to be talking about Donovan Mitchell for at least the next couple of weeks. It's already the 21st of July. You know what I mean? We got a whole nother month to get to even the 21st of August, and then a whole nother month before we even get to training camp. So there's a lot of time for this to happen. But see, I'll say this: the more time that it takes, the worse it is for the Knicks, I think, because it gives other teams the chance to to speak with other, to speak with other teams. So a team like Miami or whoever else, it gives them a chance to speak with other teams and try to get draft picks. And I think that's what Utah wants to do. They want to hold out as long as possible, give other teams the ability to negotiate, to collect draft picks, find ways to do 3-team or 4-team trade so that Utah can get back what they want, because it doesn't have to be one team giving them everything, right? If you can work a 4-team trade, now Utah can find a way to get what they want, while the other 3 teams get what they want as well. So the longer it drags out, it might be the longer it drags out, the better it is for Utah. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the better it is for the Knicks the longer it drags out.
The only pushback on that is I think there's a window for Utah as well. I don't think
Mhm.
you want to go into the season with you still
I
trying to
agree.
negotiate with
Right.
multiple teams. So I agree with you in the immediate time frame. Them holding out is best for them. But once we start getting closer to that training camp and
Right.
start of the
Right.
season,
Right. Right.
now
That's when
that
the
pressure
pressure.
starts building.
That's when the pressure starts building. Right. Now, if something happens with Kevin Durant, he goes to Miami, then that'll take Miami off the board. Now you're really stuck, because that may be what they're trying to hold out for, right? Let me give Pat Riley a chance to make something happen, put some pressure on the Knicks. The Knicks can probably still give them the most.
Mm-hmm.
But if Miami can come in with a package at least equal to the Knicks, now that forces the Knicks to have to
Up the
level up.
ante.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Exactly. Level up. You know what I mean? Up the ante, level up. So and that has to be what they're waiting for and trying to get accomplished. You know what I mean? Hold out. If we hold out long enough, another team will come in with a package. Not many are going to be able to. So of course you're looking at Miami, maybe Brooklyn, right? I don't think I know OKC has a lot of assets and things. I'm just not sure that is the time is right for them. But OKC and Brooklyn, they would be looking at Donovan Mitchell and saying, I mean, not OKC, Miami and Brooklyn would be looking at Donovan Mitchell and saying, especially Miami, he could take us to championship level. Brooklyn, depending on what pieces are there, maybe could keep them competitive or take them to championship level as well. So I agree with who was it, Windhorse, who said, enjoy your summer. I think he might be right. This thing might go through the summer, but I still do believe in the end, before training camp, I think he's a Knick. I do. I think it ends up him being a Knick because I don't think anybody else has can offer what the Knicks can offer. I don't think they can come close to offering what the Knicks can offer. And even if they now, let me ask you this. If Miami comes in with a package of 7 picks and they're willing to do those 7 picks, right? Let's just say hypothetically, does that force Leon Rose to go to 8 picks to outbid Miami, or does he say too rich for my blood?
I hope he says too rich, and I mean theoretically, it's another talking point that's been going around. Um, is the value of a Miami pick compared to the value of a Knicks pick? Now, part of that, they're looking at historically, but that's the best way to kind of look at it. Even before Miami was necessarily a championship contender consideration, they were still always a playoff contender. You know what I mean? They always are a good team. So those picks that they can offer,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the additional picks that they're getting from other teams, somehow I'm assuming are going to be not as valuable as a perceived Knicks pick. Part of the reason why I don't mind giving up some of these picks is because I feel like Donovan Mitchell does move the needle to where our picks shouldn't be that valuable either. Um, but that's just another story.
Yeah, I mean, he moves the needle, but he moves the needle. There's no doubt about it. But if he goes to Miami, I think that makes them a championship contender. I'm not sure if him come to the Knicks makes them. Well, I know, in my opinion, it doesn't make them a championship contender, but I think they elevate to potentially at least a top 6 seed and potentially, top 5 or 4 seed, maybe. In my opinion, it depending on who's on the team. If it's Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Jalen Brunson, I think it elevates them. I think that's playoffs. To me, it better be. They gave up all that. It better be playoffs. You know what I mean? I think that's playoffs at least. So I'm looking at least top 6, in my
I,
opinion.
I've been doing the hypothetical math on that particular starting lineup, and I know
Mm-hmm.
I did this last year, and I got killed for it. But guess what? I'm going to do it again. I think that starting lineup can give you 90 points by themselves, and,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's with a bunch of different ways of looking at the scoring. You know what I mean? Like that's with RJ staying at 20, Randall staying at 20, Brunson staying at 16 or 17, whatever he was for the season. So not even reaching 20, which I think he can do as well. Um Mitchell upping it only 2 points to 10,
Uh huh.
and Is that 5 right there? Who am I missing? 4. I think that's 5, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I don't
oh,
know.
oh, 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 no, I'm sorry,
It's
Mitchell
late and I'm tired.
and Mitchell 20. So
Yeah,
that right there, that's 90 points right there, 85ish, right there from that particular starting lineup, which means we don't have a lot of bench, but we're not gonna need a lot of potential scoring day in and day out off the bench.
yeah,
You get 30 points off the bench. That's a 110, 115 average on a whole squad.
right, right. We'll see how it goes, man. I think we got the summer to wait. I think we're gonna have to be patient. I'm sure every single day there's gonna be something about Donovan Mitchell in the news, Donovan Mitchell in the Knicks, Donovan Mitchell in this team, Donovan Mitchell in that team. The report out there is that Utah is willing to be patient, and Donovan Mitchell isn't really pushing the issue either.
And that was
Right.
my question for you, Sim. Does Donovan Mitchell requesting, demanding, asking for a trade publicly, as public as you could make it without getting penalized
Mm.
by the league, does that change anything? Does that push the Jazz to make a move quicker? And if he specifically requests us, does that actually help us? Um,
Mm. I think honestly, I don't think Donovan Mitchell has requested a trade.
no, I'm saying if he
I
does.
right, right. But I think probably what happened is the conversation has been had, and they let him know we're gonna trade you. I think that's what I think. Right, we're gonna trade you, or either the conversation has been had to say we're gonna trade you, or they've had the conversation to say, hey, we're breaking it down. What do you want to do? You know what I'm saying? We're going to extend you, that gratitude of finding out what you want to do, because you've been here, you rock with us. You didn't request this, you didn't request that. You know what I mean? You've been a good basketball player, good professional for us, so we're going to extend you that gratitude. And I believe that he said, yeah, I want to, either he agreed to being traded, or said, I want to be traded, and said, I want to go to the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? That's the team that I would prefer. Prefer
But you're saying privately. Do you
privately.
do you think
Privately.
if it becomes public, do you think that changes the situation
I don't.
for
I,
for us or Utah?
I don't think so. I think that if he and his team made it public, then it may turn Danny Ainge and Utah Jazz off and say, "Hey, come on, we had this discussion. You know what we're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to make this happen, but now you go to the media and you do this. You know what I'm saying? I think it's something like that. And so I think that's why, Donovan Mitchell's not pushing the issue, and he's just kind of quiet and letting the process play out. That's what I think. And
I
I'm not
feel like
and you know what? There's I'm not, no one said anything to me or anything like that. I'm just looking at them, just observing the situation, and from what I can see, that's what I think.
I think I think I think he should, if
Mm,
that's ultimately where what he wants.
uh-huh.
And at the same time, the same way, we've been talking about Leon Rose and Danny Age playing chess. I think Donovan's been playing chess, at the same time. I think he's been putting all the subtle hints out there as possible without overstepping and kind of making it official. Now, the beautiful part about it, And similar to the Knicks and their dealings with Brunson, he has legitimate reasons to be and be doing everything he's been doing as far as showing up at the Knicks game. I guess the most questionable thing would be the dinner with Quickly, you know what I mean, or the hanging out with Quickly, you know what I mean. But everything else, he has a legitimate reason behind it. Bobblehead night, that's the Cyclones. I believe they're a affiliate team of the Mets. Rangers game. Maybe he likes hockey. The Knicks hoodie, but it's a Liberty hoodie, but it only says New York. I feel like
I dig it. Yeah,
he's
yeah,
he's
yeah,
he's been he's been playing the game. He's been playing
right.
chess as well without overstepping, and it may just get to that point where you know what, I gotta say something. I gotta put some pressure on the organization.
Yeah,
Now
I
you're
mean,
right. They're in a better position because it's 4 years. They can say, "Hey, we keep you. You gotta live with it, or we move you wherever we want. No consideration of what you want."
right. And see, my thing is, I believe that they had the conversation, and he, is maybe trusting the organization, and so he's like, I can be cool. You know what I mean? And it might be a situation too. Like, I prefer to go to the Knicks, if preferably, but if I end up still being here, I can rock with it too. You know what I'm saying? It could be one of those situations, but I believe that Utah, of course, they want to go ahead and make this thing happen. You know what I'm saying? I think they've chosen a route, and that's the route that they're going to take. CL Kenrick, thank you for the super chat. He said, D Mitch or bust for real? Keep Randall, give up Cam and Fournier quickly, and some picks. CL, I want you to go back and look at the title, and I want you to look at the cover and tell me if there's a question mark on there. That's all I want you to do, because I'm not making that as a statement. It's a question. So I want you to go back and just make sure I did typo. Make sure there's a question mark on there. That's all I'm saying.
And not an exclamation mark.
And not an exclamation mark. You know what I mean? Make sure there's a question mark. If there's not a question mark and it's an exclamation mark, I'll make the change. Pretty sure I'll
And
put a question mark on there,
I just wanted to throw that up. Tony makes himself laugh more than anyone I've ever known. I'm usually laughing because I read in the comments, but I think it's hilarious from Mr. Giggles.
though. Yeah. But we got to be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Leon Rose in the camp, I think they got to be patient. And look, I think Leon Rose, first of all, is probably very familiar with Danny Ainge. And I also believe that, and we know he's an agent, but agents have to do a lot of negotiating. You know what I mean? And he's played the game from that side of the ball, right? So he understands, hey, you know what? Let's be patient. Let this thing play out. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure they have a line that they've already drawn in the sand, and they know where that line is. And you never know. Utah may already be below that line, and they're like, we're going to get it a little bit lower now. You know what I'm saying? You never know. You just never know. So I do believe that he knows what he's doing, and he understands how to negotiate, and he's going to do a pretty good job at doing it. So I'm just, I'm impatient but patient at the same time, because I do want it to happen. You know what I'm saying? So we can start to talk about all the possibilities with Donovan Mitchell, and then what dominoes fall after that.
For
Because there's going
us.
to be some dominoes for the Knicks, right? Because there's going to be some dominoes that fall once, if and when it happens. It's going to be other dominoes that fall to fill out the roster. So I'm excited for that time, if that time gets here. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Brunson yesterday did his, I'm going to say, introduction. Okay.
I've
Not
called.
press
I've been
conference.
calling it a non-press conference because
Yeah, right. He did his introduction, not a press conference. It was a season ticket holders event. But there's a lot of people that are upset, especially the media, upset that the media was not invited. And I'm gonna just say this: I don't care that the media was not invited. I don't think that the media has to be invited to everything. And I do believe that James Dolan and the New York Knicks want to control their own narrative, and I don't have a problem with that either. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with somebody wanting to control the narrative of their business. Whatever narrative is created outside of their business is going to be created regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe you do the best to control your narrative, and the best way to do that is by getting your message out first. And that's what I believe. What I believe the New York Knicks did. We're going to get our message out first, right? So we're going to do this interview, introduction, let you sit with it for a couple of days, and then he'll get a chance to open up to the rest of the media. It doesn't have to be through a press conference. It could be through private interviews, whatever it is. He'll get a chance to open up to the rest of the media. That's it. That's it. I see what Cap Giggle said.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, let me put it up there. Let me put it up there. Sim runs NBK the same way. I mean, listen, we control the narrative that we want to put out there. If we want to say Uncle Fulio is a fool, then we can put that narrative out there. Let me stop messing with Uncle Fulio because he's going to try to bite back. But no, I mean, I think it's okay for someone to want to control their narrative. I don't think so. I understand what the press is and what the media is, right? And the importance of the media. But I don't put that importance on sports. The importance of the media, right? I hear people keep saying that the team needs to be held accountable. Accountable to who? Right? Accountable to who? I can understand a person in public office, a public institution. The media is there to hold them accountable to us because we pay our taxes and we are responsible to pay those taxes, right? If legally we're responsible to pay those taxes. So we're paying these people and we're paying these public institutions to serve us. So yes, the media is there to help keep them accountable to us because we pay our taxes. I don't have to buy a ticket to a Knicks game. I don't have to watch the Knicks on television.
And that's how you hold them accountable. If the fans
right.
can do it, not the media.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So if the media reports something to me or not, it's not like I have to do anything. There's people out there that don't pay attention to the New York Knicks at all. You know what I'm saying? So I don't believe that the media has to be there for everything. You know what I mean? And if you want to say, I'm going to have an introduction of my player, and I want to get this message out first about who this player is. And I do not want to interrupt it with questions like, who do you want to play with? Not talking about guys from our team, but Donovan Mitchell or any other player that's out there. We don't want to interrupt it with that. And
when did you make your decision to come to the Knicks?
Exactly, right? They don't want that. They want to get the message out about who he is. They get the message out there. They know that stuff is going to come later anyway. Doesn't matter. It's going to come later. You know what I mean? And so, you know what? The media got to cover it from afar, just like fans, except for fans who were there in the building. You know what I mean? Now, if you're talking about holding someone accountable, people say, well, the Knicks need to be held accountable to their fans. Well, guess what? They brought fans in instead of media. They're holding them accountable to the fans. Right? No, the fans didn't get to ask questions and this and that, but they were there. And they gave something to the fans, to those season ticket holders. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with it at all. And I know there's a few people out there that disagree with me, but I don't have a problem with it. Get your message out, and then later on, He's going to get a chance to get in front of the media. There's going to be a whole media day. There's going to be games where there's, press conferences before and after games. I mean, trust me, he's signed for 4 years. And if he's with the Knicks for 4 years, there's going to be a lot of time to talk to the media. I don't have a problem with it at all.
And I mean, my stance was, why even take a chance to, like, this is his moment, right? Jalen Brunson. Why even take a chance to spoil it in any type of way? You know what I mean? It's a moment for him, his family, the organization. They finally feel like they made a good move. Now, if they don't address anything like going into the season, if this was like you said and I said earlier, if this was media day, now they're not doing their due diligence or their job as an organization. You know what I mean? Now the NBA could step in and kind of lay down some laws or punishments. But this is a private, you know what I mean, a private moment pretty much that they shared with select fans and people who won that moment, and however they decided who to pick and who got to go there. But yeah, I don't think it was a big deal at all. I think part of it is this is New York and this is how we're covered, so they can make anything a big deal. And I do believe a couple of individuals were personally offended by it, but this ain't the first time they've been offended by something that the Knicks did or didn't do, and it probably won't be the
It
last.
won't. It won't. It won't. Dirty Dancer said, bruh, they're asking about his puppy. So what? So what? I mean, that happens all the time. We see clips all the time where, they ask someone their favorite food or their favorite this or their favorite that. You know what I'm saying? So what? There were enough interesting and team and Nick related and personal questions, I think, to get the message out that the Knicks want to get out. What did you want them to ask about? That's what I want to know. What was so pressing? I mean, do you expect him to say, hey, how many times are you going to run pick and roll with Mitch? You want that answer right now? No. That's it. You're not going to get it. Are you expecting them? Did you want to find out if the Knicks tampered? What do you think he's going to answer that question for real? He's going to say, yeah, I sat down with Leon Rose and I sat down with my dad and Tom Thibodeau 2 months before free agency. We had a big dinner. Is he going to answer that? No. I mean, what was the media going to ask? What were they going to ask? Right? That was so pressing and so interesting. You know what I mean? That we missed out on that coverage. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't understand what people want from it. I mean, you have actors, right? And other sports athletes, etc., that sit down and do one-on-one interviews all the time with reporters, journalists, whoever, about a certain incident that may have happened or whatever. They sit down with that one person, do an interview. And no one's like, oh my gosh, how come you didn't have all of the press there, all of the media there? And those people normally choose who they're going to sit down and talk with. It's just crazy outrage. And I'll say this, the media is changing. Media is changing. See, it used to be a long time ago, before social media and anyone could just jump online and say anything. Athletes didn't have Twitter, and you couldn't just live stream at the drop of a dime. You had to go to the newspaper to get your information, right? Or go to Sports Center to get your information, things like that. And So you needed the media to go get this information for you. But now, players, teams, organizations, whoever, they can speak to you directly. They don't need to go through the media anymore. They can speak to you directly. So it is changing. And I think some of these outlets just have to get used to it and figure out how to adjust.
Hey, Sim, I think they are figuring out how to adjust.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the time that you're referring to, the information that they had to give had to be accurate. It had to be sources, not just anonymous sources, but real sources. You know what I mean? It wasn't about their own opinion and how they feel themselves per se. It had to been taken from a from like an outside looking in perspective. Like I spoke with Josh earlier about journalistic integrity, where
Mm-hmm.
now I think that is lacking, and it's more like the new age that they're not only adjusting, but they're competing with social media. They're competing with platforms like yours, where we're allowed to give our opinion. You know, we're not behind the scenes and getting this information. And now it's harder for them as well because they're not behind the scenes as much, or the information that they may get, it may have been out already from Twitter, from the player, or from
Right.
you know what I mean.
Right.
So
Right. And
I understand a little bit of what they're doing, but
and
it's
I
about money more than about
yeah. No,
the
I
truth.
agree. I agree. I understand too how they've got to feel. It's like if you don't let us, the media, in, then
We'll say what we want.
we right, we will say what we want. And they hold the right to do that. They hold the right to do that. We'll say what we want. But also it levels the playing field for anybody else. Because if they watched it streamed just like all of us did who weren't there. So now they have the same information as us, right? Uh, what can they say that we can't say? It really has to come down to your take and your opinion and your thought on what was said at the press conference or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it used to be that they had the inside scoop that we didn't have. So if they're not invited to these types of events, they no longer have that inside scoop. You know what I mean? And they can't, they can't report it to us. So yeah, that does pose a little bit of an issue for them, and I understand it 100%. I understand it. You know what I'm saying? But I still don't think that the media has to be invited to everything. You know what I mean? And now I do agree that if you're someone like Madison, the Madison Square Garden, you want to keep those relationships. So you still want to say, you know what, I'm going to invite, certain things. I'm going to make sure I invite the media to, et cetera, et cetera. You still want to and have to do that because the media is going to get information out for you and they can reach the masses, right? I'm not reaching the masses. I don't think anyone in the YouTube atmosphere right now is reaching the masses. When I say masses, I don't mean, you know, 100,000 Knicks fans. I'm talking about 5 million across the world. You know what I'm saying? Or even your general fan that's not
But
a Knicks fan. You know what I mean? So your major outlets are going to be able to reach those people in certain instances. So you still need to have those relationships, but they don't have to be at everything.
I mean, I would argue that they don't need them.
Okay, okay,
And the only reason I say that is, like, the Knicks could put something on YouTube themselves,
that's true.
and that's gonna expand their reach. But even the there's Knicks fans that don't have a YouTube at all. Don't have an Instagram at all. And maybe they rely on some of these
Right? Yeah,
real
exactly.
media platforms. But even if the Knicks, if the Knicks aren't giving I'm just gonna say this newspaper, the scoop, and they're just releasing the scoop. Guess what? You're gonna look at the scoop that the Knicks released themselves and report right off of that, and then, or you're gonna choose not to. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
they
So
I'm
you
not
know,
gonna say they don't need them at all, but they can get by without them. You know
oh,
what I
they
mean?
can get by without him.
If push
That
comes to
that's not a
shove,
doubt. That's not a doubt. They can get by without him. Obviously, there's still the older generation that is going to go. You still got people that's going to go to the store and buy a newspaper. You know what I mean? Someone who's 85 years old, they may not be scrolling Twitter. They're probably going to this store and buying a newspaper and they want to read it. And I get that, but I think the outrage was uncalled for. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's. I can see how it's a big deal for the news, those outlets, because to them it's almost like, you know, we don't have the playing field is leveled. If they stop inviting us to these things, everybody's got the same information as us. So I can understand that. I can understand that, but um, to me, if you're gonna control your narrative, they did it the best way that they can do it, and I think it was smart. Bottom line,
I,
I think
I
it was smart.
I compare it to the supermarket opening the self checkout lane. You know what I mean? So now that cashier
Yeah,
is
which
looking there like,
yeah, right. Yeah,
hey,
no
yo,
doubt,
like
no doubt. Like, yeah, hey, I might, I could lose my job soon because, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Although, speaking selfishly, and shout out to CL Kenrick, thank you for the super chat. He said, I agree. We want Brunson to be comfy. Yeah, he's on his honeymoon period. Let it be comfortable because the other stuff is coming soon enough. You know what I mean? It's coming soon enough, so let it be comfortable now. You know what I mean? Uh, Ian Clark, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. But just real quick on those self checkouts, I ain't gonna front, Tony. I feel like if I go through the self checkout, I should get a 5% discount because now I got to do the work. You know what I'm saying? Like before, I just go through the line, put my stuff on, put my stuff on there. They ring it up. They might even bag it up for me.
they used
Now I
to.
now I gotta go through the self checkout. I gotta scan it. I gotta put the number in the machine if if it's one of
Look
those,
up the produce code.
look up the produce code and all of that. Have the machine say your card was declined. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I should get a 5% discount because now I'm doing all the work. So I'm
Yeah,
not entirely happy about the self checkout lines though. You know what I mean? Because they're making me do the work. Now, if I get a discount, I'm happy. Like if I go to like Aldi, I can get cheaper food because I'm bagging it up. I'm
shout
bringing
out
my
to my
box. I'm
job.
putting it all in my box and all of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing that, and then but I can get it for cheaper. But when I go to a regular store and I gotta bag it up myself and ring it up myself and do all of that, I want a discount. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother show on a whole nother channel. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was crazy. I wish that I was able to join that show earlier with Uncle Fulio. Me and Josh, we argued half the day yesterday and then half the day today about this very topic.
I'm just glad, I held my own and I was able to articulate my point as best as I could. He had me under pressure though, talk about all the nicks and bruises we've been through over the last 20 years, 30 years. But I'm like, hey, let's separate it and let's focus on this regime and at least acknowledge the change and the difference and the growth. You know, not saying they haven't made any mistakes and everything they've done was correct, but I commend this front office for the job they've done so far, even with the mistakes. Like honestly, the mistakes make me admire and appreciate them more because they knew the risk in the moves that they made and they positioned them to where they can move off of them. As we could see, Kimba gone, Noel's gone, main two, because they weren't available to be productive. But Burks, people were off of him. I wasn't, but he's gone. You know what I mean? So all those perceived mistakes, they weren't detrimental. You know what I mean? They were calculated risk.
Right. And I like the fact that this regime is not afraid to recognize that they made a mistake and then go in another direction. You know what I mean? To me, that's when I remember when they were, the reports came out that they'd be willing to move on from Evan Fournier and looking to move on from Kemba Walker. People were like, oh man, look at this regime. They just signed these guys. Now they got to admit their mistake and do this and do that. Right. And saying it like it's a bad thing. And I'm like, it's actually a good thing. They took a chance. They realized it wasn't a good chance. It was a mistake. Now they're going in another direction. That's exactly what you want. You want someone who can pivot, because you're not always going to do the right thing. You're going to make mistakes. So you got to have the ability to pivot, and they did so.
Yeah, I
can't argue with that.
And I'm not going to do it, and it's not my stance per se, but there's an argument that could be made that the move for Donovan Mitchell is a bigger risk long term than not, because I don't know how easier it's going to be to fix it if it doesn't go right.
Yeah, right. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys for jumping on with me at this hour. I've been in a meeting for like 8 hours. We started meeting at like 10 o'clock this morning, and we went to like 5 o'clock this afternoon. And then after that, I had to go and do some more just do some more stuff for meeting tomorrow. So I'm tired. I'm very tired, but I wanted to get on and just talk, because I hadn't had a chance to get on since Sunday. So I wanted to get on and just talk, you know what I mean? And talk about some things that's going on. If I get a chance, I'll jump on tomorrow night as well. You know what I mean? Hopefully after tomorrow night, we'll be winding down. Salute to Legion and Knicks. Appreciate you, my brother, for jumping on at this time of morning.
I shouted you out earlier too, bro.
Who, Legion and Knicks?
Yeah,
big shout out to him.
Yes,
big shout out to him. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna head up out of here. Tony, any last words?
Oh man, appreciate you. Glad to spend some video time with the Podfather.
Appreciate you, bro.
Your blackest time, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I'll say is just stay out the self-checkout line, or make them give you 5% off. That's all I'm going to say. I'm out, ladies and gentlemen. Peace. Stay out the checkout line. Self-checkout.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.